Howdy folks, I am Drifter 3D. This video is going to be about Mesh Graffiti and how I use it. I may not cover everything because I'm somewhat new to this, but I think I have it dialed in. I'm showing this part because I think it makes a difference in the results of what you get on Mesh Mixer. Now this is the original image that I was given. And if you look in close, it's what I call fuzzy and in a lot of places. So now real quickly, this is a program called Paint Shop Pro 4. It's very old, but if it ain't broke, I don't fix it. So I'm an old timer, I guess. Anyways, what I do is I clean them up so that when I get in there, they do a heck of a lot better. Now Mesh Mixer will vectorize images, so that crappy one may have very well done good, but I like to lower the risk so I'm not as frustrated. Real quickly, the customer said it was okay to remove the squares and these little flowers, and the reason being, I told the customer, you know, that's probably not going to come out because these. Now, although this video is about Mesh Mixer, for a while I've been using them on Tom Wright, which is Animal 67 on Maker World. I've been using him on his coolers. Now, there are sites out there that can vectorize images, and one of them that comes to mind, I have no affiliation, is vectorizer.ai. Now, this is the part where we go to Mesh Mixer. Real quickly, the item that the graphics are going on, you need to make the overall color of the cooler the background color you want to be. Now, these whites will not be used except for the parts that are inside the graphic. The white will be taken away in Mesh Mixer for the most part. So we're going to be putting these on a black cooler. And so what I do, I go into what the size wanted. This is the 12-ounce standard. It needs to be selected. I'm just going to use generic. I go in there, I pick the color, and boom, that's it. And you do save it as a 3MF Mesh Mixer, and it also saves it as a 3MF or whatever the other option is. We'll see here shortly because I never use it. And I'm going to add a lid to this, so we're going to do the same exact thing with the lid. And I've chosen my file. Now the drawback to such a dark color as this is seeing where that middle portion seam is, because you know you might dip down over it. But let me turn off my light. It's reflecting off my screen, see if it helps me a little bit. Not really, but what we're going to do here, now you have that, you pick the side you want. Unless the graphic is going to be all the way from top to bottom, I'll just hit front, and that's where we're at now. And now over here in the area that's not the cooler, you can move it however you want to do that, but we're just going to go back to front. Reminds me of a Metallica song, Back to the Front. Now here you have the original I showed you. Or if I didn't show you, it's because I edited it out. Now the key here is to remove the background. Now it helps that I went in and made all of the colors in here solid rather than all pixely and grainy, because it betters the odds of getting the result you want when you take out the background. Now I only use PNGs. I think that's important. Some people use SVGs. Most of the time I don't like the results of that. Now we got one area I forgot to fill in, but I can fix that when I paint it in the slicer. But yeah, that's going to put this transparent image, or at least the transparent background, that's going to put it on the cooler. And when it says, and right here as you can see, after you hit next, it says it's vectorizing your image. Now if you only wanted a certain amount of colors, you can play with this, but I knew it was going to be 5, so it would require 2 AMSs or some fancy footwork. Anyway, now some people say, well, that's not quite the color I want. Well, you can go in here and you can edit the colors. Like if you wanted to change that black to something else, you'd pick it, and if you know the hex code, you'd put it here. If not, as far as the RGB, you'd find it on the little scale. But I'm not going to be changing colors, so I just wanted to show you that. You can edit the colors. I'm hitting confirm. Now obviously it comes in 500 feet tall. I wish I had fixed that area between the T and the H, but way worse problems to have. Now you can either scale it down here under size, or you zoom in and out on the cooler, but I'm not going to zoom in and out on the cooler, but I may have moved it. So let me click back on front. Okay, we're still there. Now, as far as I know, the customer wants this above the same. If not, they'll let me know. I'm going to go down a little bit, or not down. That's right clicking. Now, when I left click, I can pan the whole thing. Let me go right. And you don't want it to go above the top there either. Now, this is just a matter of preferences. You can also change the angle if you so chose, but I don't so choose. So there's that. Now, if it was me, I might be doing it about this big. Now, just to pause, the only two things I don't like about Mesh Graffiti, but I think it's still in beta. One thing I don't like is that it doesn't snap to center, because especially on a dark one like this, you're guessing at the center. That's why picking a specific view helps, but it doesn't guarantee it if you can't see everything, and it is by eye. But if it's snapped to center, that's just me doing it by hand trying. If it's snapped to center, that would make things go a little quicker, but there are worse problems to have. Another thing I don't like, and this is just an example, if I wanted to make it wrap around the image, or the subject, like in this case the cooler, it would skew the living crap out of it. Now to get it to stick on there, you just put it where you want it and click it, and right now watch. It looks fine there. Turn that's all kinds of boogered. So I hit X because I don't want to keep that. I'm going to go back in and bring it in. But yeah, those are the two things I'd like to see Mesh Graffiti. I bet a lot of people that make that mistake. Anyway, we're going to shrink it down, and I'm trying to keep it above the seam, but it's going to be tiny. This is why I made it in two pieces too, if they decide they want just the emoji. And I'm guessing where that seam is, because it's going to be arced up a little bit in this theme. And I'm eyeballing the center and to put it in place. And I know I took the long way here, but it's because I try to think of everything that might cross your mind. So where I think is the center. Now you notice, right, I'm going to point out, and I'm pointing at my monitor like you can see me, but you see how the actual word Juneteenth is straight across in the image, but if you look at the top of the cooler, it's arced. So this could skew a little bit. And these are the little booger things I don't like, but this is what we deal with. It may not be too terrible. See that? That probably turned out okay. And again, that white spot between the T and the H, I can fix in the slicer. But hopefully we nailed that on the first try. You don't fully know until it's printed out, but there's that. Now once you get what you like, you just, and I hope I'm not moving too fast. If I am, call me out, say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And if I don't know how to do it, I'll try to figure it out and we'll make another video. You hit that green check mark if you like what you got. This is another thing. If for some reason you end up with colors you didn't want, you would just click on the color that you don't want involved. And if you do that, I'm not going to do it because I like the colors, but you would click on that and it would have you pick between the other colors that are there or add another one. And you would just pick the one you wanted to replace it with. But I like what we got, so I'm going to save it. and hopefully it looks good. Now you hit download, and down here, that was the one I couldn't think of, was GLB. I don't know anybody that uses that, but that's an option. But it will save it as a 3MF. And this has 5 colors, I remind you. So I'll try to go through the process maybe a little bit slower. You bring in the lid. I go to bottom, obviously. I say obviously, but you know, you don't want to assume that everybody knows everything you're doing. So there's that. I always put the straw hole down at the bottom just to be consistent, because most people are looking at the front of the cooler when they're drinking out of it, so you want the lid to kind of line up there, at least as far as graphics. So there's that, and I'm going to go in. I don't need to upload the graphic anymore, but yes I do. And we're going to take out the background again. And I reiterate, I use PNGs. I do not use SVGs. I'm not opposed to it, I just have better results with the PNGs. How many colors did I have? There's red, yellow, green, white, and black. So there's 5 colors. I don't know why it's choosing that. So I'm hitting confirm. And it's the same thing we did with the body, but it won't skew here unless it goes over the edges. That's another thing I like about doing the lids, is the graphics stay just on the lid and they don't skew around the edge unless you go a little too big. Now obviously you have to deal with the hole of the lid here, or whatever project you're working on. Now I'm eyeballing the center. I don't want it to go over the edge. Just see if we can go a tick bigger. That would be 28. Yeah, we can probably, no, I don't know. Let's be safe and go with just one size smaller. You can use the slider. You can actually type in that little box there. Like if I change that to something else, then you would just click up here and it would make it what you wanted. Now let's find where we want this. I'm trying to not interfere with that straw hole as much as possible so we can see as much of the graphic as possible. Hopefully you're able to see that with it being on black. I know a lot of people are saying, dude, just click it right there, but I'm making sure I like where it's placed. Yeah, that looks good. I clicked with my left mouse button, it posted it there. If you like the way it looks, you hit the green check mark. And I told you about if you wanted to change any colors. And we export it and save it again. And we can change it. And I guess I can do the slicer part too, in case there's any questions on that. You save it. And that is done. Now let's go ahead and bring it open. Let's open it in the slicer. And reason why I'm showing this part is in case it's about a color change thing as well. The one thing I do if I'm trying to get, now you'll notice the colors, I know I keep interrupting myself, but something pops up and it makes me think of it. The colors we used inside of, and I hope I haven't kept saying Mesh Mixer, the colors you use inside of Mesh Graffiti will come into your slicer here. I only use bamboo slicer. So there's those. Now if you, just in case one of them wasn't the right shade, you can click on it, and I make sure it's, see, no, it's not in your normal white, so I'm clicking white here because it might be a different shade of white, and I know that's minimal, but there we are. There's that. So yeah, to change any of these colors, you would just click on it and pick the color you want to change it with. And if for some reason you have like 2 whites and 3 greens, it's because there was different shades and you didn't narrow it down. So the way to fix that is, you got to select the item, you go into the paint tool, and forgive me if I'm talking too quick. Let's say I had like 3 different greens and 2 different whites. The way to fix that would be you're painting, duh, Now, the way to fix that would be you choose the shade that you like, or just make it the shade you want, and like in this case, since I keep talking about white, we're going to go with that. The shade of white that you like, you pick that one up here on this filament list. And then you would go in here and paint with it. And this guarantees that the shade of white you liked is the one that's used. And the reason why you're going in there and doing it by hand is because, let's say there was a white here and there was a white here and I wanted this white, I would have this one selected and go through and do all the white areas. That way I essentially canceled out this white. I hope that makes sense, because you would be able to just hit minus, and those extra colors you didn't want after you've replaced them with the one you did want, those will be eliminated by just hitting this. So the order you have these matters only in that sense. But we have it where we want, and like I said, it was 5 colors. I hope all of this made sense. We're going to hit return, and there's your graphic. So, but anyways, there's that. And you want to do it face down unless it's raised, but I rarely do raised on something that's like this. And you slice your plate, and these lids 9 times out of 10 don't take very long. Okay, this stupid purge tower, prime tower, whatever the heck they call it, is outside. That's the only reason it says this. So we're going to ignore that because I'm not printing it yet. Just wanted to show on the video the cost, according to this, is 66 cents. Takes about an hour and 20 minutes. And that is the process. Now, if I moved too fast, or if there's a question you have that I did not answer, please ask, and either I or someone in the comments will answer. But thank you for watching. I hope you consider subscribing, liking, and sharing, and all that fancy stuff. But I hope I was able to help at least one person. If not, let me know, and we will get it all sorted out. Thanks for watching.